The 6:30 p.m. edition of news on My Media Prime Television, women live from Douala, the nation's economic capital. The news starts now. Amnesty International has called on the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, to reform all laws used to criminalize protesters and ensure all those arbitrarily arrested and detained for exercising their human rights be released. This is contained in a two-page letter signed by some 27 Cameroonian and international organizations yesterday, February 2nd, 2022. Get full details right ahead. In a two-page letter addressed to President of Cameroon, Paul Biya, signed by 27 Cameroonian and international organizations, Amnesty International called on the president to reform laws used to criminalize protests and ensure the release of all arbitrarily detained because of acts of free expression and free assembly. In the letter dated Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022, Amnesty International condemned arbitrary arrest of Cameroonians who are still in jail at the time the country plays host to Africa's biggest continental jamboree, the AFCON. According to Amnesty International, over 100 people have been shut up in prison, most for over a year, some for over 5 years, while some face substantial sentences simply for exercising their human rights. They continued, while celebrations go on outside, these people are suffering inside crowded cells, counting months or years that they have already spent in prison, plus the months or years that await them. The international body also cited cases of Cameroonians who were arrested during protests in the country's crisis-hit Anglophone regions, in the likes of Pentherens, Vice Principal of CAS Bambali, T. Conrad, Mancho BBC, Samuel Wazizi, amongst others. They noted that the injustices and indignities faced by the people and many others have multiplied as months and years have passed, expressing their shock not only for individuals and injustices of their suffering, but also for the greater injustice that their arbitrary arrest represents, the fear anyone could be in prison just for speaking out. Interpreting Cameroon's draconian anti-terror law of 2014 as a means to criminalize even peaceful protest, Amnesty International urged President Paul Biya to reform these laws used to criminalize protest and public assembly and ensure that, as the AFCON celebrations die down, Cameroon should be made a place where people can truly celebrate. It should be recalled that in another report published by Amnesty International on January 24, 2022 about the armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, it stated, over the past 5 years, the human rights situation has grown increasingly bleak as people from Anglophone regions, including journalists, human rights defenders and supporters of political opposition, have been arrested and jailed for expressing their opinions. Now, football lovers in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, are set for the semi-finals tonight between the indomitable Lions of Cameroon and the Pharaohs of Egypt. Central Regional correspondent Lum Colette visited an AFCON jungle in the bid to find out how fans are bracing up for tonight's match. Her report.
And for Africa! It is the D-Day. Here we are in one of AFCON jungle in the capital city. The road is tightening up. City dwellers are getting more busy. Everyone seems to be in a rush, preparing to glue a very crucial match between the indomitable Lions of Cameroon and the Pharaohs of Egypt. A historic match as two powerful teams of the tournament will lock horns tonight, leaving hearts of fans beating fast with fear and anxiety as to who will pave through to lead. Preparations in this AFCON jungle is getting interesting, as you can see variety of homemade food with sweet aroma arousing saliva. For tonight's viewers to savor as host Cameroon and records champions Egypt face each other here in Yaoundé, a place in the Total Energy African Cup of Nations 2021 finale, where football lovers and the organizers are expected to take precautive measures at the Olympic Stadium, where the match will be played to avoid another stampede. It is the day that the match will take place. It is a very determined match, and this jungle will be full. We reserve our seat. We are confident our team is a powerful team and they will make the way. Our hearts are beating fast because Egypt is equally a strong team, and since it is a game, we cannot determine what will actually happen. It's worth noting tonight's match at 8 p.m. will be the 11th African Cup of Nations encounter between Egypt and Cameroon, and no two teams have met on more occasions in the competition's history. It should be recalled, Egypt have won 3 of the last 4 Africa Cup of Nations games against Cameroon, scoring 9 goals, this after netting just twice across the previous 6 encounter against the Indomitable Lions in the competition. Meanwhile, the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon have progressed from 7 of their 9 semi-final matches at the African Cup of Nations, while only opponents Egypt have made it through this round more often in AFCON history. Today's encounter between Cameroon and Egypt in the semi-final match will determine the direction which football history will once again be written.
Colored Room reporting from Yaoundé. Now, inhabitants of Bamenda, chief town of the northwest region, have been called upon to engage in the collection of waste from their neighborhoods every Monday. The call, which was made recently by Bamenda City Mayor, has been received with mixed feelings, as Delingande tells us.
The Bamenda City Council has embarked on a move to involve city dwellers in the collection of garbage from neighborhoods of the town. The operation, which is due to start this February 7, 2022, happens to fall on a Monday amidst the challenges faced by the Waste Management Company, with the French acronym ISACAM, in properly collecting waste in the municipality. The City Council Mayor, Paul Achombong, says the initiative is on the backdrop of a series of meetings with the various quarter heads of the Bamenda City Council area. According to him, the clean-up campaign will start effectively on Monday, February 7th, as from 7 a.m. prompt to midday, and all business places will remain closed.
When I will finish here, I will take appropriate action.
Mayor Paul Achombom says the campaign is coming at a time when many more cases of cholera are being reported in some parts of the country. The move, however, is seen by others as an attempt to get traders and shop owners out of their houses on Mondays, which have come to be known as ghost town days over the past years.
And I go give you an assurance, say within the shortest possible time, I will come out with a communique where will help bring an end to this crisis.
It should be noted that all other moves made by government officials, including threats, have proven futile to get shopkeepers and entrepreneurs effectively run their businesses in the town on Mondays due to the gun battles rocking the region.
We stay in the northwest region, where the All Saints Parish, Baele, and the population of Bamenda 3 subdivision have benefited from the Strategic Humanitarian Services SHUMAS. SHUMAS and partners handed over a modern toilet and borehole to All Saints Parish, Catholic Nursery and Primary School. When Northwest correspondent Charles Kiba completes the story.
The All Saints Parish Baele and the Bamenda 3 population are latest beneficiaries of the Strategic Humanitarian Service SHUMAS Wash and Education Support Program. SHUMAS Cameroon and her partner building School for Africa UK, February 2nd, 2022, handed over a constructed modern toilet and borehole water to All Saints Bilingual Nursery and Primary School Baele, Bamenda 3 subdivision.
You see the problem of COVID-19, so we thought that If we did not rescue this problem immediately, the lives of about 2,000 children and others in the secondary school, totaling about 2,500 beneficiaries, would be at stake. So we immediately intervene to solve the problem.
Stephen Wedzerum, Shuma's director, cutting the ribbon, handing the water, sanitation, hygiene equipment and toilet structure constructed in partnership with Shuma's Cameroon and building schools for Africa UK as part of universal access, which emphasizes the need of wash outside homes. The image Shuma's Cameroon and partners are presenting. Stephen Wedzerum, director of Shuma, said Shuma's Cameroon goes in for those who are in greater need.
Usually, Shuma's go in for those who are in greater need. And as you got from all the speeches, this school, the facilities were meant for about 600 to 800 children. But because of the crisis and the security and the safe nature of Baile, the population has risen to 1,800 and above.
The school targeted as it offers learning opportunities to vulnerable children across communities and nearby royal poor communities. Children of IDPs fleeing other restive divisions warmly accommodated.
Built for 600 pupils. But now with the current crisis, we are having more than 1,800 pupils. And with the toilet and the sanitation facilities that was there at the time, it was not enough to handle the number of children that we have.
Shuma's director, Stephen Wedzerum, appealed with the authorities to hear the cry of hundreds of thousands of young Cameroonians in the northwest and southwest region currently out of school. Look for lasting, sustainable solution to the ongoing Anglophone crisis. Appreciating Shuma's director and partners, the school manager, Reverend Father Valentine Zuzeko, said the humanitarian gesture will save thousands and children.
Father Shumas has given us, I think the children, they will use good water. We have a borehole and the water is clean and drinkable, and they will have good toilet facility that will enhance our sanitation of the school and maybe other issues related to the school.
Other speakers like the HMPTA president said the precious gift of water and toilet will go a long way to enhance health and well-being of the school. Traditional dance and group photograph graced the day.
From the northwest region, we move over to the Adamawa region, where the senior divisional officer of Vina Division, Yves Bertrand Awunfak, has addressed the issue of insecurity within his area of command. Speaking during a two-day event which brought together local administrative and security officials, the senior divisional officer called on those involved in all acts of kidnapping for ransom to desist from such practices. Catherine Ekongwe tells us more.
This important meeting saw the effective participation of 8 divisional officers, judicial authorities, high military and security officials of the Vina Division. The following discussion graced this session, that is, putting in place and the establishment of the procedures for the designation of chiefs and their rules in national matters and illicit sales of land. To put an end to such an incident that has gone beyond control, the sub-divisional officer calls on the chiefs to set up lay-down procedures for the sales of lands, since it has to do with public avenues or privately owned lands.
Surtout, le thème débattu de l'assise fait intervenir le rôle des chefs traditionnels.
The theme that was raised bring in the role of the traditional chief and their involvement in administrative duties. And with this, we are so delighted because there are a lot of agro-pastoral conflicts and other problems that chiefs do face daily based on their duties. Most of the chiefs are ignorant of their duties. So this session has come to educate and enlighten us on our roles.
Maintenant, l'État nous a appelés aujourd'hui pour venir nous enseigner.
With all observation being done, the sub-divisional officer seized the opportunity to announce to all authorities concerned to redouble their efforts and be more vigilant in order to ensure peace and security, both in the day and at night.
En ce qui concerne la sécurité,
as far as security is concerned, we have put in diverse strategies to lay hold on all the robbers who cause civil unrest within our division, and for the dysfunctioning of certain operations to assist the population in handling issues that come up. Measures are put in place to ensure that appropriate quarters are prepared to attend to our population.
Puissent effectivement bénéficier, n'est-ce pas, de l'attention dont elles sont dues.
Yves Bertrand also reminded his collaborators to set up peace and security of the population, which constitutes the main focus in which the government will not cease to invest in.
The Center for Advocacy, Gender Equality and Action for Development, which empowers women and youth for sustainable development, has reviewed the first phase of the project, increasing the grassroots women awareness on UN Security Council Resolution 1325. Charles Cable once again.
The Center for Advocacy, Gender Equality and Action for Development, CAGI, empowering women and youth for sustainable development, has reviewed the first phase of the project, increasing grassroots women awareness on UN Security Council Resolution 1325, bringing some 30 community peace ambassadors trained and given manual.
Over 1,000 grassroots women and men who have had knowledge, who have had the opportunity to know that there is a document like the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 that gives them the power, the authority, and the mandate to be able to effectively participate in peace building in their community.
The workshop in Bamenda, February 2nd, 2022, bringing women civil society organization, the press, and Northwest Regional Council, mindful of the socio-political crisis affecting the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country, was also to ensure women have a voice and are able to neutralize both parties from using guns.
Women to be able to neutralize both parties from using guns and continuously harming human beings. That is why we're taking our time and looking at little ways to filter the education down the communities for people to understand that before anything, we need to first be safe.
The project, with some 1,000 men and women trained as per Section 1325 of the UN resolution that seeks to prevent war and promote peace.
We looked at what does safety mean to a grassroots woman who is building peace. We are looking together the mechanisms we can put in place with the councils and the government to see how women peace builders can be protected, how they can be supported, and how they can be appreciated in their work.
Clotilda Andencia, CEO of the Center for Advocacy, Gender Equality and Action for Development, CAGID, told participants it's imperative that all national peace-building initiatives undertaken by any government should effectively involve women and men in order to arrive at a sustainable peace. With ECAN, International Civil Society Action Network collaborative campaign to recognize, appreciate, resource, and follow obligation to support peace women builders in their work.
Business people, to tell them that if truly they need peace, then they should take a commitment to support women peace builders who are taking the brunt, who are daring, who are stepping out to build peace in their communities. And by the end of this session, we are expecting that each of them should commit on this board in a signature to say that in my own little way, I will ask my service to support women peace builders.
CAGID, she builds peace. Hash, stand with women peace builders at the end of the workshop, launch a project, She Build Peace campaign. Photographs, grace the day.
Charles Kiba reporting from Bamenda over in the Central region. The Minister of Women Empowerment and the Family has presented this year's Women's Day fabric in the first preparatory meeting held in Yaoundé yesterday, February 2nd, 2022. Held under the theme Equality Between Women and Men Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow, the event saw the active participation of women from all walks of life. Colette Lum once again.
As concerns activities of greater mobilization, such as the sporting walk and march past, pending the highly esteemed directives from hierarchy, provisional registration is open as usual.
These words to mark the opening activities of this year's Women's Day festivities at the Ministry of Women Empowerment and the Family, graced with the presence of Minister Marie-Thérèse Abena-Ondoa. It is a tradition that each year on March 8, Cameroonian women join their counterparts worldwide to commemorate Women's Day, a day set aside to celebrate women, their value in promoting peace and advocacy. This 37th edition of Women's Day celebration won't be an exception, as it will be an outstanding moment for positivity with the women in all spheres in Cameroon.
No, a good Cameroonian, a good man who understands the future of the world, knows that the world cannot advance if men and women do not participate. Women cannot move alone, they don't have men with them, and men cannot move alone if they don't have women. So it is extremely important. And the campaign he was launched a few years back, and we have to continue to know that each one, man and women, have to work together, have to be together. There should be no exclusion. So men will not be frustrated. Instead, reasonable, realistic men knows that women have a lot to contribute for the development of all the nation and the entire world.
The Cameroonian woman is looking forward for a vital celebration that won't be centered around feasting and lifting up the Akaba, but one that will mark a turning point in the lives of the Cameroonian woman at all levels.
Now, the decades that followed the independence of Africa from colonial past witnessed a regular reoccurrence of military coups. Following the recent military takeovers between 2021 and 2022, there is concern that they are starting to become more frequent. Joy Ngong revisits some key military coups the African continent has witnessed in recent times. Her report.
Since the 1950s, Africa has witnessed over 200 coup attempts. These are illegal and overt attempts by the military or civilian officials to overthrow sitting leaders. About half of these have been successful, defined as lasting more than 7 days. This year, 2022, has already seen two: a takeover by the army in Burkina Faso and the other, a failed coup attempt in Guinea-Bissau. 2021 in particular witnessed a higher number of coups in Africa compared with previous years. Burkina Faso has had the most successful coups in history, with 8 takeovers and only 1 failed attempt. Sudan, on its part, has had the most coups and attempted takeovers, amounting to 17, 6 of them successful. Nigeria's reputation for military coups goes way back to the years following its independence, with 8 between 1966 and 1993. Burundi's history has recorded 11 separate coups. Sierra Leone experienced 3 coups between 1967 and 1968 and another one in 1971. Between 1992 and 1997, the country experienced 5 further coup attempts. Ghana is not left out in the history of military coups, with 8 in 2 decades. In April last year, after the death of Chadian leader Idriss Deby, the army installed his son as interim president, leading a transitional military council. There were other successful coups the same year in Mali and Guinea and Sudan, and a failed military takeover in Niger. Globally, Africa has experienced more coups than any other continent. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres in September last year said that military coups are back and blamed a lack of unity amongst the international community in response to military interventions.
News out of Cameroon, our reporter Nora Kakebe visited Mali, Somalia and Congo. She put together the following.
Touring the African continent, our first stop is in Congo, where 26 people are reported dead after a high-tension power cable snapped and fell on houses and a market on the outskirts of Kinshasa. The victims included over 24 women and 2 men, leaving another 2 persons seriously injured. According to a statement by the National Electricity Company, the line fell during heavy downpour on Wednesday morning. The company has, however, offered their sincere condolences to the bereaved families. The Congolese government had already taken steps to relocate the market following a January 7 cabinet meeting. Prime Minister has visited the site and equally extended condolence messages to the families. Meanwhile, in Somalia, a 2-day conference that brought together women political players, civil society organizations, journalists, and academics has amplified calls for inclusion of more women candidates in Somalia's upcoming parliamentary elections. The conference, which was held with the full support of political affairs units of the African Union Mission in Somalia, is part of wider efforts advocating for more women representation in national politics. The country is holding legislative elections and it has set itself a minimum benchmark of 30% women's representation in parliament, so as to improve participation and representation of Somali women in decision-making in politics. The Women's Quota Committee was recently appointed by Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble to push for the 30% target. The women are hopeful that if they get elected to parliament, their people will benefit the most, since women will play meaningful roles in peace and nation building. After beating Burkina Faso 3-1, Senegal supporters celebrated into the night in Yaoundé for securing a place in Sunday's AFCON final. It is the second consecutive time the country is qualifying for a place in the final. According to some of the supporters, all of Senegal is happy. They continually thank Sadio Mane, the team's captain, for his relentless effort and team spirit. The host nation, Cameroon, will lock horns with Egypt today, February 3, 2022, and the winner of the match will face Senegal in the final on Sunday, February 6th.
And to sports, Senegal has qualified for a 3rd successive AFCON final after defeating Burkina Faso yesterday 3-0. Cameroon takes on Egypt tonight to see who picks up the next ticket to the grand final scheduled for Sunday, February 6, 2022. Sports lady Magdala Ayang-Besson completes the story.
The Teranga Lions of Senegal are now the first to have booked their spots at the grand finale of the 2021 Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations after a 3-1 mauling of the Stallions of Burkina Faso yesterday. The Amadou Ahidja Stadium in Yaoundé, which hosted this semi-final encounter, saw Senegal reach their 3rd successive AFCON final after being runner-up in 2019, where they succumbed to a defeat by Algeria, who were sent packing from this edition of the AFCON competition in the group stage by Equatorial Guinea. Coach Aliou Cisse and his boys gave the Stallions a tough time during yesterday's game and play, which resulted to goalkeeper of Burkina Faso, Herve Kofi, stepping out of the pitch on a stretcher after a collision with opponent's player Sheikh Kouyaté. A game full of tension and surprises from the pitch of play, with Ethiopian referee Bamlak Tessama carrying out verdict justly while putting on a smile throughout the game. Trophy campaign has all ended for the boys of coach Kamu Malo, as Aston Villa's Bertrand Traoré and teammates could only qualify for 3rd place while waiting for the loser of today's semi-final encounter between the indomitable Lions of Cameroon and the Pharaohs of Egypt at the green turf of the 60,000 capacity Olembe Stadium at 8 p.m. Winner will then knock heads with the Teranga Lions of Senegal on Sunday, February 6, 2022 at the Olembe Stadium still in Yaoundé.
We've come to the end of today's edition of Prime News on My Media, Prime Television. My name is Fon Quiter. Coming up just after the news is Focus on AFCON with Ayang-Besson Magdala. The match between the indomitable Lions of Cameroon and the Pharaohs of Egypt will be played at exactly 8 p.m. Cameroon time. Keep watching The African Eye. Good night.